Hey there, it's Dan with EUJuicers.com, and in this video I want to take a look at the Vidya horizontal slow juicer. It's model number SJ002, and we here at EUJuicer, we sell all sorts of juicers. There's verticals, there's horizontals, centrifugals. We find, even though in the market today most people are buying verticals, or it's the most popular, our customers prefer horizontal. So we've added this mid-price horizontal. It's, I would say, a value price. It's a little less than the premium models, but it's still got the same quality. Vidya is an interesting brand. We have two other products from Vidya. We have their centrifugal juicer, which I've reviewed in a different video. It was kind of nice with stainless steel parts. And their really cool vacuum blender. I encourage you to check that out. That's the blender that sucks all the air out for smoothies so you don't have the oxidation. But this is their horizontal juicer, and a couple of things about it. It's made in the same factory as the other premium horizontal juicers. Actually, I don't know if there's any cheap knockoff horizontal juicers. You don't see that these days. You know, the Chinese have made copies of so many verticals, but not so many with horizontals. And this comes out of the same factories as the other premium brands like Omega, Hurom, Sana, Kuvings, and it's not made in China. What about horizontal juicers in general? Why would you choose one instead of a vertical? Well, they each have pluses and minuses. We might make a video later really comparing the differences. But in general, verticals are maybe a little more user-friendly. You know, they take up less space on the counter. They're basically self-feeding for the most part. Maybe not so intimidating. This takes up more space. It looks a little more complicated. Actually, when I went to buy my first good juicer, it was a horizontal, and I still have it, and I use it just about every day. Generally speaking, a horizontal will do better with things like greens, leafy greens, hard root vegetables like carrots. I'm going to show you later on. Let's see how it goes. Those things in verticals, if you throw a lot of carrots in a vertical, it can struggle a bit or put a lot of pulp in there. Leafy greens, you probably need to alternate something like a carrot or an apple just to keep those going in a vertical. Horizontal does that fine. A couple of other advantages of horizontals, they're really versatile. For example, this model and most models come with a blank screen, and this lets you do things like sorbets, nut butters, things like that, sauces. I'm going to show you later peanut butter in this guy. But what I want to do right now is just take a look at the parts here. Let me show you what comes with it and disassemble it. And it's super simple to disassemble. First of all, this model, similar to the Omega NC series, or in Europe it's the Sana 606, excuse me, has a pressure knob. This lets you adjust the back pressure, and typically I would leave it on max for most things that I do, which would be greens, carrots, apples. But you can turn it down for softer things like pineapples, berries, things like that. And that's one thing where a vertical might do a little better is those soft fruits like peaches and berries. Those might back up a bit in something like this unless you're alternating it with something a little harder like a Granny Smith apple or a carrot. And you can also remove this for something really soft. The 0 setting is basically the same as removed. Besides that, there is the cap at the end that holds it all together. Here's the juicing screen, and this comes with just one juicing screen. If you're buying one of the higher priced models like an Omega or a Sana, they're about maybe 100 euros more. What do you get? You basically get more accessories. For example, those typically come with a coarse juicing screen. I know the Sana 707 that I have has a coarse juicing screen, which might do a little better with these soft things. You get a longer warranty. You get better accessories like a glass juicing bowl, a stainless steel pulp catcher, things like that. But the core of the unit itself is really the same. The motors, the augers, all the construction is basically the same thing. And let's take a look at that auger here. This is GE Ultim, super hard. These things, it's really difficult to break these. And then there's just the housing unit, BPA free. All the juicing parts are BPA free. I like this up here, this tray up here. It's got a nice rim. The model I have doesn't. And one thing I thought was really cool, the pusher has this little hook on it, if you see that, and it'll just hang on there. So if you're looking for a place, where do I put my pusher? You just stick it there. Other things that come with it, like I said before, comes with a blank screen for your nut butters, things like that. Also comes with these 4 different nozzle sets. I'll show you these 2. These ones with the circles, these are for pasta. And there's another one there, just different sizes. And then there's this other one. I've used something like this on my horizontal for sorbets, things like that. It'll just kind of crush everything together and shoot it out that way. And besides that, it comes with a standard cleaning brush. Has a little sharp end to get into places, and then the brush here. And that's about it. It's a 200-watt motor. It's pretty strong. We'll see when I juice. And I'm just going to put it back together. And I want to start with some apples. So I'll just get this guy going here and get ready to juice some apples. You can notice with these little pieces, it sort of self-feeds. Not like a vertical, but you don't need much pressure to get it going. I've also got the pressure knob turned all the way up to maximum, to 5. You'll notice there's a little bit of foam. I tend to get that from Granny Smith, even in a slow juicer. This one runs at about 70 RPM, and that's pretty normal. It's actually funny, the ingredients I have today are my go-to juice. Most mornings I like to make a Granny Smith, carrot, spinach, and I put some ginger in there for some spicy flavor. I want to strain it out, see how much pulp I got. This is pretty dry. Yeah, I can't really get any juice out of there. One thing I did, I had it on 5 for full pressure, and I kind of played around with it, and I lowered it a bit just to see if it sped it up, and it made a bit of a difference. So for sure it's going to catch foam. It's kind of hard to see if there's pulp in there because there's maybe 2 tablespoons of foam in there, but I can feel around. No, not really. It's pretty clear. I don't know if you can see, even maybe from the bottom you can see that. There's really no pulp bits. It's just some foam there. And I said I'm not doing a big yield thing, but this gave me a ½ liter of apple juice from 4 apples. Definitely enough for a glass. There are a couple of glasses. Let's take a look at the color. And because I'm a caveman, I'm going to drink directly from here. Yeah, absolutely clear. There's no pulp in there at all. It's quite good. Next up, I'm not going to clean it until I'm done with the carrots. Normally at home, I alternate things. Carrots always act as a natural cleaner, so that's handy to do. A little trickier here. I just want to wash this up a bit. I'll be right back. I'm going to clean up this and my pulp container and get to this spinach. So next up, I've got spinach. And spinach is the longest thing to juice. We'll definitely speed this up. That's not all the spinach I'm doing. Right off camera, I've got a box here. I got about ½ kilo, 500 grams of spinach. And one thing I can tell you right off the bat, I'm super glad for this rim because on my 707, it's got a bigger tray here, but it's kind of rimless. Looks cool, but I tend to get spinach leaves everywhere. And what I like to do is kind of smash them in my hand and then just shove them into the tube and get a lot more in that way. And yeah, for sure I'll be dropping leaves everywhere. That's just normal with spinach. You see a bit of the remnants of the apples in there. They'll come right through with the spinach. And if you're doing this at home, you can always throw a carrot in between. That'll clean things right up. All right, that's the last of my spinach. Spinach is a great addition to juices, especially if you've got kids who are afraid of greens, because spinach doesn't add much of a flavor. When I first added spinach to my carrot apple ginger juice, my older daughter, she's 18, she's 19 now, she commented later, she said, "Can you make more of that green juice? That was really good." And in fact, it kind of got my kids hooked on spinach. And now when I go to the store, they're always saying, make sure you bring home bags of spinach, because they want to put it in their wraps and their sandwiches that they're making. You can see the pulp here. There's still a bit of, if I squeeze it, I could get a couple of drops out. But it seemed to do pretty well. I'm going to run it through the strainer now. Again, there's going to be a lot of foam. Spinach will do that too. You won't see so much from the carrots. I'm looking just to see, yeah, if you can see there's a bit of pulp before all that foam gets in the way. Not much though. I'm going to have to shake this thing around for a while because that's a lot of foam. I'll get a spoon and stir it around. Now, I'm not brave enough to drink spinach juice straight. I've tried it before. But like I said, it is a great addition to just about any juice. I could probably get some more if I let it sit longer. You see some is still dripping through. Let's move it along. I want to show you the color here. Check this out. And again, a little of this will go a long ways. This is also a great thing if you're making smoothies at home. You can add, half of this amount to your smoothie if you don't want that fiber in there. And last but not least, I'm going to clean up here and actually do a measured yield test with these carrots. Now I know I said I wasn't going to clean it in between, at least before I do the nut butter, and then I realized if I'm doing a yield test, I really should clean it because some of that spinach in there could still be some juice and that could kind of skew the results, make it look a little higher than it really is. Now when I was preparing the carrots, notice I cut it into these small pieces. It's because for some reason I thought I was doing a vertical. With a horizontal, you don't need to cut it into these little pieces like you do a vertical. You can just leave the carrots in bigger chunks. So that's also one advantage. And I've got the pressure sensitive, back pressure all the way on 5. I'm curious about the results. I recently did a comparison video with a Sauna 808, which is the Omega VSJ 843. In my opinion, the best vertical out there. And I got about 500 milliliters of carrots from a kilo. And the one I went up against only got about 350. That was a cheap knockoff juicer. Let's see how this one looks. And looking at the yield, looks like it's just under 500. I'd say 490, 480. So again, just about there. It could also, you know, the quality of the produce can affect it too, the freshness. These carrots weren't the freshest. I peeled them to try to get a little better yield, put them in water for a bit, but that could make a huge difference. Let's take a look how it looks here. And I'm going to try some out. It's pretty good. It's actually really sweet. Some carrots you don't get very sweet juice. And in fact, later I'm going to mix all these three together and make a nice little lunch, basically. So what I want to show you now is the cleanup on it, and then I'm going to come back and do nut butters, or peanut butter. So I'm going to disassemble this. We're going to head to the kitchen, and I'll see you there. So the last thing I want to do is use the blank screen to show you how to make nut butter. Now you can use the blank screen to make other things, like I said, sorbets, sauces. I make salsa with it. But this time, I'm going to try nut butter. So I need to disassemble, just swap the screens out. Super simple. There's the juicing screen. Here's the blank screen. Just put the cap on. Now sometimes when I make nut butter, I will put on this big nozzle. Sometimes I'll even run it through twice. I'll run the peanuts through once, let them get processed, then I'll put them in again. And at that point, it's a little finer and it'll fit through here. But I'm just going to try this way. Another thing to notice is make sure your bowl is big enough to cover both the juice outlet spout and then what would normally be the pulp outlet. This is where the peanut butter is going to come out because it's all just going to get crushed and shoved through here. But oftentimes, because I add oil to the peanuts first, you'll see a bit of oil dripping through there. So what I do, you just get roasted peanuts, not dry roasted peanuts, just regular. And these are already salted. And I like to add some oil to it. How much peanuts, how much oil, it's up to you. This is probably going to make a lot of peanut butter. I just add oil and I kind of play with it, see with the consistency. It just depends how much you want and how thick or thin you want your peanut butter. A big advantage of making your own peanut butter is you see the ingredients. It's just peanuts, oil, and in this case a little salt already on the peanuts. You can also add things to it. We make cashew butter sometimes, and you can put in a little bit of maple syrup or honey, something like that if you like it a little sweeter. I just prefer it straight. So I'm going to add some oil here. I'll put in about half. This is peanut oil. I think peanut oil works the best with peanuts. But you can add canola oil, sunflower oil, something like that too. And what this does, it just helps you to get a creamier consistency of peanut butter. The more oil, the thinner it will be. If you run straight peanuts through, it's going to be like a chalky consistency almost. So you definitely need to add a little oil. And it also depends on how much oil naturally the peanuts have that you're using. So I'm just going to feed it in and let it do its thing. I probably used too many peanuts. You see, that made a lot more than I was thinking. And what you do at this point, you can add more oil if you want it softer. You can also run it through. Oftentimes I run it through a second time. It gets a little messy putting this stuff through the feeding tube. Just slightly more difficult to clean. It's a little harder to clean nut butters. You got to make sure you do it under warm or even hot soapy water to break up that oil. I'll add some more of this oil here. Just stir it up. But the actual process of making it is really fast. So it gave me a pretty good consistency there. Put some in a jar here for maybe for my kids for later. A nice thing about that blank screen, in a way it gives you a mini food processor because there's so much you can do. It's just basically combining ingredients, mashing them together, and you can make, like I said, spreads, hummus. You can even grind coffee beans in there, make baby food out of fruits and things. All right. All right, so that's the Videa SJ002 Slow Juicer. Just want to encourage you, don't be afraid of a horizontal juicer. They look maybe a little more intimidating than a vertical, but they're really easy to use and they're actually easier to clean. I recently wrote an article, you can come to our website and check it out, kind of rating all the juicers by easy to clean, and I found horizontals to be the fastest and easiest. Take a look again at these juices. There's the spinach, the apple, the carrot. It's a good multi-purpose machine. It makes juice, makes nut butters, and all sorts of things. If you want more information about this Videa horizontal juicer, come to our website. That's at www.eujuicers.com. Thanks for watching. I'm Dan, and I'll see you next time. Let me start up. Oh, I don't have power. Let me plug in. Is this on? Is this on? Hello? Testing. Testing. Hey, it's Dan, and welcome to Juicy News. This just in, thousands of oranges protesting against Donald Trump's face color. News at 11. Stay tuned.